Good morning. I declare the meeting open and welcome everyone here today, including those joining us in the gallery and via the live stream. Could everyone please stand as I ask Councillor Bunnag to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Kabi Kabi people. This week marks a momentous occasion for the Kabi Kabi people. On Monday, the Federal Court formally recognised Kabi Kabi people as the native title holders of their traditional lands spanning from Redcliffe to Gympie. The determination acknowledges that Kabi Kabi people have a continuing and unbroken connection to the land and waters of the Sunshine Coast. I congratulate the Kabi Kabi people and recognise the many years of work undertaken to reach this recognition. The Sunshine Coast has been a place of celebration, abundance, connection and kinship for thousands of years, and we commit to working in partnership with the traditional owners to continue these practices and support self-determination through economic and community development. We recognise our shared history and will continue to work in partnership to provide a foundation for building a shared future with the Kabi Kabi people and Jinnaburra people. We pay our respect to the traditional owners of the Sunshine Coast and to their elders past and present, and acknowledge the important role First Nations people continue to play within the Sunshine Coast community. Together, we are all stronger.
Thank you, Councillor Bunnag. Would the Chamber please remain upstanding as I invite Father Peter Branley, who I've had the pleasure of knowing for some 35 years, Father, from Stella Maris Catholic Parish to provide a blessing.
Let us pray. Gracious God, known by many names and beyond all names, we give you thanks for the blessing you bestow upon our Sunshine Coast, and we acknowledge the privilege of living and working here. And we celebrate the openness, goodwill and diversity that is the mortar that binds our community together. May we have the wisdom to recognise our responsibility to be good stewards of what has been entrusted to us, so that we may hand on to the next generation what is of uniqueness, beauty and value. This morning we pray for our elected representatives, that they will have the insight to provide good governance for our Sunshine Coast. In the midst of the differences and the different perceptions, may they have the courage to seek out common ground while always working towards the common good. May the work of this meeting and council be conducted in a spirit of service that gives life to the people of the Sunshine Coast, and may the choices advance the prosperity, welfare and true dignity of each person who calls this place home. And we make this prayer this morning through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Father. Please be seated. Noting everyone is in attendance, we'll move to item 4. Councillors, I remind you of the requirements of the Local Government Act 2009, which sets out how councillors' conflicts of interest are managed in local government matters, noting that Chapter 5B of the Act does not apply in relation to a conflict of interest in a matter if the matter is solely or relates solely to the making of, levying of rates and charges or the fixing of a cost recovery fee, or to the preparation, adoption or amendment of a budget for the local government, or to preparing, adopting or amending a document prescribed by regulation that the local government is required to prepare or adopt under a Local Government Act. Councillor Natoli, I understand you wish to inform Council of a conflict of interest that does not relate to any item on today's agenda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I, Councillor Giuseppe Antonio Natoli, notified that I have a declarable conflict of interest. My declarable conflict of interest arose due to the fact on the 3rd of February 2020 I received an electoral gift of a voucher for accommodation valued at $2,125 from Scott Barron, Resort Manager of Peninsula Beachfront Resort located at 13 Mooloolaba, Esplanade, Mooloolaba. On this basis, in accordance with Section 150EQ of the Local Government Act 2009, I will exclude myself from any meetings that will potentially benefit or impact negatively on Mr. Scott Barron or the Peninsula Beachfront Resort. I will not participate in any discussions relating to the making of a decision on this matter.
Thank you, Councillor Natoli. The details of that interest will be included in the minutes. Councillors, as a related party of Councillor Natoli, I too wish to inform Council of a declarable conflict of interest that does not relate to any item of today's agenda. My declarable conflict of interest arises due to the fact that on 3 February 2020, my spouse, Giuseppe Joe Natoli, received an electoral gift of a voucher for accommodation valued at $2,125 from Scott Bowring, Resort Manager of the Peninsula Beachfront Resort, located at 13 Mooloolaba Esplanade, Mooloolaba. On this basis, in accordance with Section 150EQ of the Local Government Act 2009, I will exclude myself from any meeting that potentially will benefit or impact the Peninsula Beachfront Resort, and just noting it's Giuseppe Antonio Natoli. I ask that details of that interest are also included in the minutes of today's meeting. Now moving on. Welcome Mr Flanagan to present item 5.1.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, councillors and members of our community. Today I present for your consideration the Operational Plan 2024-2025. The Operational Plan outlines the activities to be implemented over the financial year ahead in advancing the corporate plan and in doing so the vision for the Sunshine Coast region. The Operational Plan establishes Council's priority activities for the financial year. It considers the longer-term strategic directions and operationalises them by embedding them in the budget and delivery program. The final content adopted by Council will then further cascade into our service and business planning, all the way through to individual plans to allocate responsibility for delivery of each of the activities. These areas will also be responsible for providing accurate updates on the progress, managing the associated budgets, delivery schedule and operational risks. The Operational Plan 2024-25 is a statutory requirement, and the document presented to you today has been developed in accordance with the Local Government Regulations 2012. The regulations stipulate that an operational plan is and must be consistent with the annual budget. This is achieved by developing the operational plan and the budget in parallel and having them both presented to you today. It states how we will progress the corporate plan through strong alignment to the goals and pathways that will cascade all the way into our business planning, and how we manage operational risk. And you'll find within the document an outline of the risk management framework, and as mentioned, in delivery of each of the activities, responsibility for managing that risk is also assigned. The Operational Plan 2024-25 identifies 86 operational activities and 31 service outputs, which will form the basis of our quarterly progress reporting to our community through Council. Each quarter over the next 12 months, Council and our community will be provided with progress updates on each activity that monitors both the budget, the timeliness, and provides commentary on progress. Madam Mayor, councillors and members of the public, the Operational Plan 24-25 has been developed consistent with the budget being presented to you today and meets all Council's statutory requirements as we seek to advance the corporate plan and vision for the region.
Thank you, Mr Flanagan. Councillors, can I have someone move a motion? Councillor Hungerford, a seconder. Councillor Broderick. Councillor Hungerford, would you like to speak to the motion?
Through you, Madam Mayor. The operational plan, to explain it in plain terms, comes down from our corporate plan. It's our annual plan for the budget we're about to adopt, how we deliver all of those 86 different activities in there, the money's expended, how the contracts are set out, and how we carry out the operations of the budget. This is required under the Local Government Act to have a corporate plan, then an annual operational plan, because this gives guidance to our officers on how to deliver those things that the budget's delivering out there, and gives them the guideline and keeps us within the budget parameters. So it's a very important document and it's very straightforward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hungerford. Any other councillors who wish to speak? Councillor Natoli? Councillor Landsberg, you were first. Sorry.
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you, Luke, and obviously it's always good to report on the operational plan. It's one of the most important processes of local government, delivering services for our community. Just a question, obviously, to our acting CEO. In the comments of your operational plan, there was a comment around a service review over the 31 different activities that council actually deliver. And what areas do you feel that we need to look at in terms of service reviews? I mean, honestly, just asking that question because the comment in here would be interesting for the broader public to understand some of our priorities.
Thank you, Councillor Landsberg. Through you, Madam Mayor, I might pass that across to Mr Flanagan to respond to that question. Thank you.
Through the chair, every year we sort of look at our services in a continual improvement program, looking at a range of things such as community feedback, some of the council priority and directions, and also, I guess, around our processes to make sure that we're efficient and effective. Through the budget development, we've got some insights from council which we'd propose to present back in the first quarter to determine what the service review program looks like for the next 12 months. But within there's also some areas which council around some of our parks and gardens and some focus areas on, I guess, that frontline services to make sure that in a difficult environment where costs have been going up, that we're still doing those things that matter most to the community. So we'll confirm that in the first quarter with council.
And my apologies, CEO, I should have directed that question, obviously, to the officer. And the other question, reading through the report, there's a comment around curbside collection on item 2.5.3. And I know that was a very topical issue during the election campaign of obviously looking at maybe providing that service. Is there any comment the officers would like to make around that?
Through the chair, I guess the curbside collection has been a key priority area. That program is about looking at options around how best to look at that service and looking at, again, a little bit like a service review, what are the different options to provide the needs of the community in the most economical way that meets their needs.
Thanks, Councillor Landsberg. Councillor Natoli.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to highlight 3.3, which is to continue to position Visit Sunshine Coast as the key delivery partner of council to deliver significant tourism expenditure outcomes across the local government area, including reviewing and funding the performance deed. And I think, in general, talk about economic development and to see the performance under our REDS, where our economy is now worth about $23 billion. But the tourism industry alone is worth about $2.5 billion. And the reason I want to raise this is the fact is that we invest significant money into BSC to promote, as well as major events. And that investment is worth just under $6 million. Out of that, we generate $2.5 billion worth of GDP for this region. And that would translate to roughly 10% of GST. Of that would equate the state government getting nearly $250 million from that spend and that sort of commitment from our community. And when you think that we give back $1.5 million by being part of a regional tourism authority and with major events as well as investment to support the regional tourism authority. So it's just a drop in the ocean compared to what we as a local government doing the heavy lifting, and the real beneficiaries are state and federal governments. You know, ultimately, we will hand down our budget soon, but we realise that in a growing area where tourism provides significant jobs, it's worth a bit over 10% of our GDP of this local region. But the commitment that we make to try and deliver these opportunities in our region is significant in terms of revenue that we generate for state and federal governments, and in return we get so little back. So, you know, I just wanted to highlight the fact that we are doing a lot more to generate revenue for other levels of government, and I would hope that in future budgets that state and federal governments can understand, regions like ours need support, infrastructure. We need more support, especially now that bonds has gone down, that we need to support our industry and hopefully that they could see that their contributions could be increased to enable us to even do better than what we have.
Thank you, Councillor Natoli. Councillor Suarez.
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. Thanks for the report, Luke. I just wanted to touch on a couple of key items that I will be looking forward to working on with the team going forward this year. Definitely progressing the venues and the legacy for the 2032 Brisbane Olympics. It's something that not only will we do this coming year, but we'll be doing for the next 8 years and beyond. Also reviewing the local disaster management plan. That's becoming increasingly important as we are seeing the effects of climate change and increasing storm events and bushfire events. So looking forward to working with the team on that. We're doing a lot in the planning space, progressing our planning scheme, including going out to community consultation once we've heard back from the state, and also advocating on council's priority positions to the state, also trying to protect our regional interurban break and planning for BOR East. Included in planning is not just the planning scheme, we're also looking to implement a design guide for multi-unit development. If we're looking to increase infill development across the Sunshine Coast, we need to make sure that it's livable for those people. We're doing a lot of work in continuing with our coastal management, with our coastal hazard adaptation strategy, our healthy coast management and our shoreline erosion management plans. Doing a lot in the waste space. The resource recovery strategy. We'll also look to put forward our new resource recovery centre in Nambour and also master plan for Sustainability Park. We'll also evaluate tender submissions for the delivery of a FOGO facility, and recalling that we had great community support for working towards a FOGO system within our region. Councillor Landsberg touched on the work that we're going to do to investigate a large items curbside collection service. That was something that was pushed by a number of councillors around this table, and we heard clearly from the community that it's an ongoing item they would like to pursue. So the work we will do this year is to investigate the different options and also put that out to community consultation so that the community are aware of what the costs may be involved, not just financially but also environmentally, and we can work towards a service that we can provide that will meet our community's needs. We'll also continue to do a lot of work with the Blue Heart Project, including the Blue Carbon Pilot Project, continuing with any potential land acquisitions that may come up in that area, working on our management activities in that area, and most importantly, working on our stakeholder engagement to make sure that people understand what the project means to them and ongoing in the future. The Sunshine Coast Ecological Park, looking forward to working on some stage design and advocacy for how we explore strategic and financial partnerships to progress an important regional facility for our community going forward. A number of streetscape initiatives will be occurring this year in Mooloolaba, Yamundi, Maleny, Nambour, Maroochydore and Coolum. And finally, but certainly not the least, coordinating our implementation activities of the biosphere in line with our community. And we just recently had the Biosphere Community Awards, which were a great success, and I congratulate everyone who was nominated in that award ceremony and to all of those recipients who were the winners in each category. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Suarez. Councillor Law.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, I wish to speak in support of the motion and the plan we have here. Can I just check through you, Madam Mayor, with Mr Flanagan, the number of actions you said in the plan, was it 86? 86, that's what I thought I heard. And I just wish to comment on one of the main strategies we have around our strong community. And of those 86 actions, 29 of them relate to our strong community. And it's our community that makes the Sunshine Coast what it is and what it will be in the future. And under our strong community, that's the things that bring people together and help them collaborate, work together and be as one as we try and create a very welcoming and very supportive community here for every single person who calls the Sunshine Coast home. And that includes things like our libraries, our sporting venues, and the development of those things to accommodate and consider the future population here. It also includes our cemeteries and our cemetery services for the end-of-life experiences. That will come to all of us at some point. But 29 actions to create a strong community, to me, tells us that it's our community that makes this place so beautiful and special. We will be working very closely with our First Nations people and with our organisation to create the Stretch RAP that will support our organisation in the journey towards reconciliation. We'll also be continuing the work with the Housing and Homelessness Action Plan to demonstrate our belief and our determination to make sure that everyone can have a safe place to sleep each night. And I want to congratulate and commend all of the senior people in this room who will be sleeping out on the beach tonight in support of the CEO Sleep Out. Thank you for what you're doing to raise awareness around this campaign and the thing that impacts over 1,000 people every single day on the Sunshine Coast. We all know how cold it is. Winter has come to Queensland finally, and it will disappear just as quickly, and maybe it will become another wet season. But no matter the conditions, it is always hard for anyone who is sleeping homeless and has no safe shelter each evening. But I finish on an optimistic note for the future with the work around the Youth Leaders Academy that will continue to grow this year as part of our strong community. So I'll be supporting this, and I'll be supporting our strong community. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Law. Councillor Burns.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. I rise too just in support of this motion, and in particular, I'm always amazed when you look into the operational plan around just the diversity of tasks that are undertaken by this council. It is quite a significant feat to coordinate 86 different operational activities. But I did want to make a special mention too that those operational tasks don't actually just happen on their own. They're actually delivered by a range and thousands, a couple of thousand of staff who are working daily, and there's staff that we sometimes don't even consider, we don't necessarily see. There's people up early in our park areas cleaning them. There's park workers up there blowing leaves away, making sure our parks look flash. We've got people who are planners and designing strategic directions for our organisation. We have people working in administration. We have people tracking assets. We have people making sure that people are where they're supposed to be. We have people, as Councillor Law suggested, who are supporting our communities to do well. There is such a diversity of things happening through this council, and I do want to just pay a particular acknowledgement to the staff who deliver that. And so thank you, Madam Acting CEO, for the work that you're doing in leading those staff, and we just want to say thank you to them and encourage them to continue in that particular space. So just an acknowledgement of that, and thank you, Luke, for your work in getting this plan together.
Thanks, Councillor Burns. Councillors? No. Councillor Hungerford, would you like to close? No? Okay, I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? And the motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, Mr Flanagan. Moving to item 5.2. Councillors, I would like to move the officer's recommendation for the adoption of the 2024-2025 budget adoption. Call for a seconder. Councillor Suarez. Thank you, Councillor Suarez. Councillors, Acting CEO those joining us in the gallery and those watching on the live stream. Today, I'm delighted to stand before you to speak to the Sunshine Coast Council's 2024-25 budget, my first as our region's mayor. This is a budget that first and foremost shows we are listening to our community. It will continue to prepare the region for a bright future while providing a renewed focus on supporting people now. I'm proud to say that the budget, the first for this term of council, includes benefits for everyone. Community is at the heart of every decision and every inclusion. We have put our residents first by enhancing public spaces, parks and infrastructure for all, shaping a healthier, happier and more connected region. We are delivering the high service standards our residents and visitors deserve while ensuring financial responsibility. We're improving transport, roads and pathways to ensure smoother travel and building first-class sport and community hubs. Our $283 million Capital Works program is also creating local jobs and bolstering local industries. We're encouraging people to shop local, study here and unite for exciting events that will bring us together and help businesses thrive. Our residents will be supported thanks to increased pensioner concessions, initiatives for housing and family violence prevention, as well as programs that will boost our health and well-being. We've also adjusted rate charges to maintain fairness despite the state's property valuation increases. Our environment is also front and centre. We're dedicated to protecting our natural habitats, rejuvenating ecosystems and restoring coastal areas. This council wanted to deliver a budget that contains benefits for all residents, no matter where they live, from the north to the south, east to west, and everything in between. So, what can you expect and look forward to? Well, there'll be new footpaths, cycleways, and road upgrades. We've also allocated more funds for Council's vast outdoor operations, which care for almost 1,100 hectares of parklands and reserves, equivalent to almost 1,500 football fields. This is in response to what our residents told us was important to them. We'll make our outdoor spaces more beautiful by reducing wait times for trees to be trimmed and grass to be mowed. This, of course, will help us catch up on the backlog created by the extended wet weather we've all experienced. There's greater investment in improving council roads by identifying and fixing potholes more swiftly. And we have significantly increased our investment in sealing gravel roads, this year allocating $8 million, up from $5 million last financial year. These are all examples of our council listening and delivering to those we serve. Our hinterland will be further supported, including our historic centres of Maleny, Yamundi and Nambour, which are fortunate to have such passionate communities. They'll receive much-needed funds to enhance streetscapes and facilities, which I'm sure will delight residents, visitors and businesses. Key investments in this budget include $391 million to develop a strong community, $289 million to maintain and enhance our environment and livability, $37 million to build our resilient economy, and $140 million to deliver service excellence. We'll invest $29 million in improving roads and almost $20 million in park, turf and landscape maintenance. There's $13.2 million for libraries, a further $4 million for our book replacement program, as well as $4 million for grants and developing partnerships with those making a difference in our community. Sport and recreation will also benefit, with $18 million allocated this financial year to the new Honey Farm Sports Precinct and $7.4 million to upgrade the Kawana Waters Regional Aquatic Centre. Another $1.5 million will rebuild the Caloundra City Church's soccer clubhouse and fields. Moffat Beach will get $3.9 million in Council's budget to support a seawall stabilisation with major remediation work to begin mid-next year. Caloundra will receive a huge boost with more than $27 million to finalise construction of a new district library and community heart that will revitalise the CBD. More than $9 million will be invested in the upgrade of the Nambour Waste Precinct at Bly Bly to sustainably manage our region's future waste. This includes a new resource recovery centre, landfill improvements and planning for a renewable energy facility. $2.9 million will go to Mullaney to advance the Maple Street Streetscape project, while $960,000 will be spent on the picturesque town's Mountain View Lookout parking area. In September, Coolum Beach residents will see work begin on the upgrade to Lyons and Norrijob Park, thanks to a $1.6 million allocation. $775,000 will deliver a welcoming arrival hub at the Maroochy Bushland Botanic Garden in Tanawar, making this attraction even more beautiful and a must-see if you haven't already visited. Hinterland hubs are receiving a major boost, more than $3.3 million dedicated to the Yamundi Town Centre, $1.8 million invested in the Nambour Administration Precinct, and $700,000 provided for the Nambour Place Revitalisation Project. More than $2 million will make a walk, ride or run even more enjoyable at Warana, thanks to a broad 1 kilometre pathway with new showers, seats and bike racks. This is part of the Coastal Pathway, co-funded by the state government. Residents at Battery Hill, Caloundra will welcome $1.6 million to upgrade the stormwater drainage system. Council will invest $17.5 million in the construction of the Caloundra Transport Corridor upgrade, which will reduce congestion in the area. $5.8 million will progress what was considered a missing link, the Stringy Bark Road pedestrian and cyclist bridge at Sippy Downs. This budget understands that many in our community have been impacted by the cost of living pressures affecting so many across our nation. While Council is required by law to use the state government's valuation figures to calculate the general rate, we've made adjustments to our rating scheme to mitigate the full impact of the valuation increase. The majority of owner-occupiers pay the minimum general rate. This rate will rise by 5% in 2024-25, which is an increase of $1.36 per week to $1,477. Overall, total rates and charges, including waste and levies, for the majority of owner-occupiers will increase by less than $2 a week to $2,053 per annum. This has been balanced with the challenge of accommodating the rising costs of delivering infrastructure and services. I'm pleased to announce that all eligible pensioners will benefit from a 5% increase in their rates concession, saving our pensioners $4.6 million. This is aimed at helping those in our community who are less able to increase their incomes to offset cost of living pressures. A single pensioner on a full pension will now receive a $304 concession per year, while a pensioner couple on a full pension will receive a $238 concession. Single and couple part pensioners will now receive $152 and $87 concessions respectively. And in good news for pensioners who've purchased a home on the Sunshine Coast and are eligible for a pensioner rate concession, we've waived the 3-year waiting period. Like many regions across Australia, the Sunshine Coast is experiencing housing affordability challenges and increased levels of homelessness. Council recognises this is a situation that is difficult to quickly rectify. It is a crisis that requires more effort from all tiers of government, as well as the private sector and industry and community organisations. We must work together and all do what we can to help. This budget will continue to support the initiatives of Council's Sunshine Coast Housing and Homelessness Action Plan launched last year. This includes providing infrastructure charge rebates for eligible community organisations and a reduced development application fee for not-for-profit development applicants. It supports the continued preparation of a new planning scheme that will consider opportunities for more diverse housing types across the region. We'll jointly investigate affordable and social housing development opportunities, including funding and partnership models using underutilised and suitable council properties. We're also providing new funding to employ a public safety liaison officer. They'll work in public spaces with people who are experiencing homelessness to enhance safety, connection, and, when appropriate, link them to support services. This budget will help forge a $33 billion economy by supporting Council's newly refreshed regional economic development strategy. The strategy is growing the number of jobs in high-value industries, increasing exports of locally produced goods, and elevating household incomes. Council's working closely with small businesses, as well as promoting the Sunshine Coast as an ideal location for start-ups, scale-ups and investors. Our successful major events strategy will deliver more than $100 million in economic benefits. Council's strong partnership with Visit Sunshine Coast will ensure the region continues to attract the visitors that are so vital to prosperity of our tourism and hospitality businesses. Councillors, this budget will help grow our region's reputation as a champion of the environment. This, of course, is backed by our Sunshine Coast Biosphere, one of only 5 in Australia. The biosphere is a way of life. It's not just about our environment. Our biosphere is about creating thriving communities, energising our local economy while placing the highest value on our natural surroundings. This budget showcases our commitment and contributions to all 3 elements, with an emphasis on nurturing our natural surroundings. Council's environment levy of $82 paid by all ratepayers will remain the same as last year. The levy will be used to protect and enhance our precious environment, including native plants and animals, waterways and wetlands, and coastal areas. It will also support the expansion and management of Council's conservation estate for a range of habitat preservation, catchment management, and coastal rehabilitation projects. Connecting our communities and encouraging travel behaviour change is also of great importance. This will be a benefit from the proceeds of the transport levy, which remains the same as last year at $47 per property. For the first time, Council is going to reallocate an additional $3.3 million of the $7.3 million raised by the levy to safety-related projects for those in our community most at risk. This is making your transport levy work harder for you. Priority will be given to pedestrian safety around schools, retirement villages and medical facilities, aiding the young, the elderly and those with mobility issues. It's important that these types of projects get underway sooner rather than later to help the more vulnerable in our community. The transport levy will also support Council's contribution to future public transport needs, with $1.5 million, 20% of what's raised, being invested into the Futures Fund this year. In 2024-25, $1 million of the almost $25 million Futures Fund will be allocated to advance the state government's business case for the Sunshine Coast Public Transport Project. It will also advance preparations to deliver the Sunshine Coast Rail Project, which will link Beerwah to Aura and Caloundra, and eventually, we hope, to Maroochydore. These long-awaited projects will provide more travel choices and reduce our dependence on cars. Council will provide $300,000 to investigate, in partnership with TransLink, a high-frequency hop-on, hop-off bus service linking key coastal destinations. We'll keep looking for better ways to connect our communities. The Arts and Heritage Levy will increase by $2 to $20 to raise more than $3 million in total. This will fund initiatives that develop and deliver projects as part of the Sunshine Coast Creative Arts Plan. These will provide career pathways for local artists, as well as programs to entice more people into the arts and expand audiences. The funding will support the growth of Council's Multi-Arts Horizon Festival, which is a world-class cultural offering. The Heritage Levy component underpins the Sunshine Coast Heritage Plan, which brings our regional history to life. It conserves heritage assets and maintains our museums and heritage organisations. This budget will also help us create a legacy from the golden opportunity that is the Brisbane 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games. The Games, which we are proudly co-hosting, may still be 8 years away, but the benefits will be arriving soon and will last long after the global event. This financial year, we'll invest $7 million in the $148 million Sunshine Coast Stadium expansion project. This project is primarily funded by the Queensland and Australian governments and includes a council contribution of $17 million over 3 financial years. The expansion will deliver additional seating, taking the total fixed seating capacity to more than 10,500 people. Early works will start later this year, with construction planned to begin in 2025, creating an estimated 650 jobs. It's due for completion in 2027 for our community to enjoy well before the Games come to the Sunshine Coast. In addition to this, $1.2 million of external funding has been allocated to develop plans for the Sunshine Coast Mountain Bike Centre at Parklands, an exciting new venue for the Brisbane 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games. In conclusion, this budget is not about money. It's about people. It aims to improve the lives of those in our special and wonderful communities. We've prioritised the small things, the basics that we hope will make a difference, and a big difference, to the everyday lives of us all. We've taken a thoughtful and balanced approach to address cost of living pressures. We've also responded to the growth within the region and commit to delivering the high level of services our community deserves. Councillors, I congratulate and thank each of you for your input and deliberations, and for the difficult decisions we've had to make as we crafted this budget together. We have been responsible. I also want to acknowledge and thank our Acting CEO, Deborah Robinson, the executive leadership team, and our finance experts for their thorough and extensive work in helping bring this budget together for our consideration today. And to all of our officers who helped us develop this document. Councillors, as we pledged when we took on our roles in this new council, we have listened and put our community first. This is something of which we should all be proud. Councillors, I commend our council's 2024-25 budget to the Chamber and to our community. I now invite my fellow councillors to speak to the motion. Councillor Dixon.
Good morning, and through you, Madam Mayor. Firstly, congratulations on your first budget. It's not an easy job, and in fact, it'd be fair to say that there was an enormous amount of robust debate. And I take my hat off to the finance team and the executive, because they pivoted very quickly, were very flexible, and in fact, we challenged them on a Monday, and they'd come back before the end of the week with a solution, which means they are listening and they are serving our community just as we are as councillors. And I just want to recognise that as a councillor group, we are nothing without our ELT and executive leadership group, including the CEO. And we appreciate everything you did to help us get here. There's been a lot of talk in the community since the revaluations were done, and you've heard some pretty crazy figures. Some people have seen the value of their homes go up 30, 40, 50, 60%. A lot of people very afraid in the community that their rates were going to go up 60%. In fact, in Palmview, where I live, we saw enormous growth in our home values, our property values. And a lot of people who, like me, are on the minimum general rate will be able to look at the rates and all the levies and charges, your waste, your arts and heritage, everything together, and it's $1.97. It's under $2. $102 a year. And you ask yourself, is that good value? What do I get for it? Well, they kept asking, well, we want great waste services. We're doing that. They want to make sure their parks are mowed on time. We're going to do that. We're putting a lot more money into parks and gardens. We want to take care of our region, and we're going to do that. They want their potholes filled and their roads taken care of, which we're going to do. We're going to do better than we did before. These are all things that matter to people, and not only do they matter, but we've been able to do it affordably. We've been able to do this at a low cost to provide our services. But the Mayor also talked about being responsible. You know, we could have come in here and we could have said, let's put the rates down. Let's leave them where they are. And yeah, we could have done that, but our service levels would drop off. People would say, why is the waste truck not turning up to pick up my waste? Why is my park not being mowed? Why are those potholes sitting there after a month? You know, that's not responsible, and we wanted to be as responsible as we could. And I just congratulate the team on that. While the Mayor's spoken about some big things for the region, I'd like to talk about some things that I appreciate out of the budget. Now, the Mayor talked about the transport levy. A lot of people raised the transport levy with me, and collectively as a group, we're going to reallocate $3.3 million out of the transport levy for things that matter. And the things that matter to people are those safety matters around schools, retirement villages. And we actually took that on and challenged the organisation, and the organisational structure came back and said, well, we'll look at the policy a bit. And now people who are vulnerable around retirement villages and schools, we're going to be able to spend some of that $3.3 million onto hard infrastructure that makes it safer for those people. And that gives my tick of approval for the transport levy. That's working for the community. Councillor Hungerford and I are very thankful that the Stringy Bark Road Bridge project is well under construction. I was out there last week and took some photos. There's $5.8 million in the budget for that. Now that's serious. You talk about safety, that's getting people to school. Parents can safely send their kids to school. There's $5 million in there for the Sippy Downs Library, and in the next budget, hopefully there'll be another 10. That's $15 million towards the library project. That's Council's #1 library project now after Caloundra is finished. Very happy to see that. There'll be over $350,000 for the Cancoban Park upgrade in Buderim, which we've just actually gone out and done the community engagement on. So there'll be no lag time. Community engagement design's underway, and hopefully this financial year we'll see the stage 1 construction. Very important. But there's also some little things in here as well. We're going to fix up some curb and channeling around Mountain Creek. We're going to design some wombat crossings or raised crossings to get people safer to schools. We're going to build local footpaths. Over $250,000 to finish the Gingelic Drive footpath at Buderim. Significant investment. These are just a few projects, but you know what? They actually mean something to the people who pay rates. They want to see value for the money that they're paying. And I'm really proud of what we've done. Again, we had the opportunity to totally mess this up, and we didn't. Together as a group, we came together, and I think we've achieved the best that we can for our community. And I'm very proud at the work that we've presented and collaborated on. It was a tough budget process, and I'm very proud of everything that everybody brought to the table. Madam Mayor, I congratulate you on this budget, and I stand here in full support of you.
Thanks, Councillor Dixon. Councillor Suarez.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to reiterate a lot of what Councillor Dixon said, but I won't. I really think that it's really important for the community to understand, I guess, the challenges this council had in delivering the budget we had a very short time frame because we couldn't commence work on this until we had a council formed. And with this current council, we have 4 new councillors who came to this council with fresh ideas, fresh eyes, questioning why. Why do we do it this way? Why can't we get money for this or for that? So I'm really pleased with this year's budget, and I'm really thankful that we challenged the way we thought about how we deliver this budget and where we allocate funding. And I would also like to thank the staff and make mention of the former CEO, Emma Thomas, who assisted the team to pivot very quickly and react to suggestions in a very short time frame. That required a lot of work and a lot of effort to bring that information back to us so we could make rational decisions. This council is also not immune to the pressures that our community are facing with the increased cost of living, the increased cost of materials, labour shortage. So this budget really had to respond to those pressures, as well as try and deliver all of the things that our community expect from their local council. In terms of the major things that I'm proud of regionally, I really thank a lot of the fellow councillors here who really pushed regarding the transport levy and the changes that we've made to that. We had to do that on a very short time frame, and while it might not be perfect and exactly what we want it to be as of today, we have the opportunity over the next 12 months to have a look at that policy and make sure it's delivering on those transport needs that we want for our community across the region. I'm really also very proud of, and I wasn't going to make any special mention of any individual councillor, but I will make special mention of Councillor Johnston, who has really been probably the lead in terms of the rural councillors in terms of trying to get funding for sealing of our unsealed roads. I'm also really looking forward to sending an email to one of my residents to tell them that we no longer have a wait time for pensioner discounts. Getting a number of those emails from people and not being able to explain to them why we had those wait times, I'm really grateful to the council for supporting us in removing that. In terms of Division 9, Madam Mayor mentioned the mountain bike centre at Maroochy River. I'm so excited about that project, and I know Councillor Law is too, and it's just out over the boundary into Division 9, so, them's the breaks. It's going to be a fantastic facility, not just for Division 9, but for the whole region. Work has already commenced at Lyons and Norrie Job Park, I should say, and the work will continue. We have more funding in this budget to continue that work and deliver on refreshing that park, which has really been underutilised. Included in that park, I'm really excited to work on getting a new pump track in that park as well. We have a rise of e-bikes and kids looking for an outlet, and they're currently riding on footpaths. People get cranky at that. They're riding on roads, they're doing dangerous stuff. Now they're riding in the park, and I'm even having residents complaining about them riding their bikes in the park. So I'm really looking forward to working with the youth in Coolum to help them have some input into the design and give them an outlet in Coolum with a pump track there. A small and probably secretive place in Coolum is the boat ramp at Mount Coolum. So at the end of West Coolum Road, you can actually get access to the river there, and that's going to be upgraded. It was kind of like a nice little secret, but it probably didn't look that flash either. Camflat Road is an ongoing road. It's a very dangerous road, and I'm really pleased that our council have been working pretty hard to make safety improvements along that road. It will be a project that will go for a number of years, but I'm really pleased to see that one progress. And the one topic I get asked a lot of questions about is the land that we purchased in Bly for the future Maroochy North Sport and Recreation project. What is it going to be? When is it going to arrive? And so planning for that will start this financial year. Roads, so the gravel roads. North Yandina Creek has had a lot of work, and there's a final piece that will be delivered this year. And Lakewood Drive and Monarch Road in Peregian Beach, I know residents have been fighting to have that road sealed for more than 30 years. So to have that start construction this financial year is a major milestone for that community, and they will be most grateful. Another very expensive project in Division 9 is the Nambour Waste Precinct. And while it's not something that residents will say, come on kids, jump in the car, we're going to the Nambour Waste Facility, it is going to be a really good asset for our region because it will contribute to reducing our emissions across the council, and our children and our children's children will thank us for that. And finally, I'm also really looking forward to sending emails about some pathways. So improving pathways in Bly, Coolum Beach and Peregian Springs. So I will definitely be endorsing this budget so I can send an email to a gentleman in Peregian Springs to finally let him know that that 30-metre section of pathway will be delivered on the avenue at Peregian Springs, and I look for your support to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Suarez. Councillor Landsberg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And yes, I rise to obviously support the adoption of the budget as well. It's an interesting time for myself as a councillor, and just reflecting on the previous term, and just to touch on a comment that Councillor Christian made around a project that he's been waiting for a long, long time out there. And in terms of decisions made in the previous council that actually supported the delivery of the Caloundra Library at its full design costs and capabilities and outcomes was a huge achievement for me, and it really reflected on the importance of us all working together and taking, not looking after just our own backyards, but really backing each other and taking that regional approach as we all, I'm sure we all bring forward this new term as well. Madam Mayor, I know one of the priorities in your 10-point plan, I'll just speak to obviously that you ran during the election campaign, was the cost of living. And one thing I really wanted to just touch on is that this council's work in obviously supporting families that are struggling. And one item that really sticks out for me in the budget is the $600,000 that's been put towards the widening of Helen Street, which is for Gateway Care. Gateway Care is one of the largest food banks in southeast Queensland. They collect more than 40,000 kilograms of food each week to prevent that from going into landfill. And to see over 1,800 transactions each week out of that facility, it really is, it's very, for me as a councillor, being supportive of that facility, and also especially the work that our planning staff did in the previous term to allow Gateway Care expand those operations there into Latcham Drive, was something that I'm very proud of the team working with Gateway Care. So thank you on that. Obviously the Caloundra City of Churches, the club's going to receive a new clubhouse, which is well behind schedule for them. They've been operating out of an old Besser Block facility there, so great to see that. Good to see, obviously, the Kings Beach Surf Lifesaving Facility has received funding to go out for tender. I know it's an old building that's so old, lifeguard services work out of there as well, and they'll be looking forward to a new facility to use there on Kings Beach. Golden Beach foreshore upgrade, which is through the impact of the Bribie Island breakthrough that obviously impacted the TS Onslow site there where the Naval Cadets work out of, and obviously quite a few other community groups. To see those foreshore works be supported is another project that Council's going to deliver as well. And most importantly as well is the Moffat Beach seawall. Obviously to see the funding there to support the upgrade of that Moffat Beach seawall. And it's a timely announcement today because I am having an on-site meeting tomorrow morning with residents down there at Moffat Beach. So to share that investment into the Moffat Beach precinct will be, I'm sure that will be highly supported. But apart from that, touching on a budget, obviously to minimise the impact to our residents, but also to deliver our levels and desired standards of service that Council is expected to do. I just want to thank, obviously, Michael and the team in the Finance Department. We've seen land valuations increase approximately average around 36% on the Sunshine Coast, and to see the work that has to be done behind the scenes to obviously minimise that rateable increase, and I'd like to thank all the work that the team do as well. But overall, it's been a tough decision to where we've come to. We've had to obviously increase the budget by 5.27%, but I'm sure that when our communities see that the projects that we deliver and the economic value that we support from the region is just outstanding, and I'm proud to stand here as a councillor today and support the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Landsberg. Councillor Hungerford.
Thought I'd better say something. Being finance. Bringing down a budget's never easy. There's always the wants, the likes, and what can be realistically delivered within the resources. I'd like to particularly point out the new councillors. You've only had 3 months to get your head around this. This is my 20th budget. So I have seen this a few times before, and it's never easy. We have a $963 million budget. 283 million in capital works. 427 million in the operating budget. Now in council's core budget, rates equates to 322 million. Rates revenue, 53% of that figure. So when you consider we also get revenue streams from Unity Water, 52 million. Grants and subsidy external contributions, 16 million. 14, nearly 15 million from our investments. Residents get very good value for that 322 million. Now, when you put this together, we also have a very strong commitment to our debt policy. In the last year, we've only had an increase of $4 million from the previous financial year. This year, we're proposing to borrow 20.3 million, but our debt redemption payments of 26 million are scheduled. So we're still driving debt down, as well as delivering and doing what we need to do. If this is followed through, that would mean council's net financial liabilities ratio reduces to 32.6% over the 10-year financial forecast. That puts us in a stronger position to actually deliver for our residents. You never live on credit. Borrowing for everything is not the answer. It's working within your revenue streams. The pleasing thing that we've been able to do this time is to continue to the pensioner rate concession. We've increased it again. 5% this year. Not only that, we took the 3-year, where you've got to be here for 3 years before you're eligible for it. We took that away. That will benefit about 1,000 extra residents, pensioners, for a cost of around $210,000. That's what we're giving back to our community. So we've increased the pensioner concession by 32% over the past 4 years. That's substantial. We care for our community and those who are most vulnerable in our community. But the final one, I would like to congratulate our finance department. We've had an average land valuation increase across all usage types in the region of 36%. That's been one of the greatest concerns of our residents, without equating to their rates. Now, as you know, when you get wage rises, it's called bracket creep. That's where you actually go up into the next level, and it means you actually pay more. So what we've done here is we've actually adjusted our brackets. We've brought those figures up to make it easier for us to calculate keeping the rates as low as possible. Last year, the category 6 in your residential, because we've adjusted this in our residential rates, from 0 to 420,000, to this year we're bringing them up to 0 to 560,500. That, in effect, is keeping, and we've done it all through the bandings there, to try and keep as many residents as possible within the existing rating category they're in. That makes it easier for us to reduce the rate in the dollar to only achieve the money we need to keep the rate rise as low as possible. That's been an excellent job with the rates department, because this is not an easy equation to do when those increase in valuations are not uniform. They're up and down across the board. So this is the best we can do to iron that out. That has really given us the ability to keep our rates down to where this time was at less than $2 a week is the increase, with those increases in our costs, contracts, getting things delivered and providing the same services, we've been able to deliver no reduction in our services and maintaining over $6.5 billion in assets. It's an enormous task, especially with those rising costs in a high inflation environment. So I'd like to say this budget for me comes down to two words: responsible and compassionate. Responsible in delivering what we need to deliver to our community and maintain those services and increase the pensioner rebate to help those people in need, but also delivering what we need to do into the future, but also making it so that we keep our debts down and our finances there, so over the long term, over the 10 years, we can deliver more and more and be more sustainable. Because when you look at what a lot of governments are doing now, they've got deficit budgets. We never have deficit budgets. They're always balanced budgets. And that's our strength, and that's why our credit rating is in the top 4 in Queensland in local government. If we maintain this, we'll stay in that category. I'd like us one day to be the only one. But we'll see what happens. But this is a very balanced budget. Thank my fellow councillors, especially the new ones, in such short notice and getting this together. But those pressures are there for the next few years. But if we maintain this focus, we'll be delivering for our community hands down. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hungerford. Councillor Natoli.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also rise to support this budget. This is the 5th budget after an election that I've been involved in, and it's always the most difficult for a new council. It is very compressed from the time that we get elected to the time that we have to hand down the budget. It's probably the best process that I've been through out of those 5, because to try and change the course of a budget at the back end is very difficult, and to try and get some sort of reflection on the new council in the way that we want to go around and about delivering, and the key message about getting back to basics and doing that. I was really pleased to see that projects like the Mooloolaba, the Moffat Beach rock wall, seawall, got funding. There wasn't the support in the previous budget, and as we worked it in for that. Battery Hill, in terms of dealing with drainage issues and, you know, putting committees together to really focus on areas that we needed to highlight. That was just a great initiative to be able to work with teams. To get money into rural roads that wasn't in the budget when we got elected. A lot of grovelling from Councillor Winston, but he got his message across and we listened. And of course, it's great to see so many other projects right across this whole region that have been supported to support our communities. Councillor Suarez is absolutely right. You know, as a local government, we're not immune to the costs of living pressures that our communities, and I feel for some of the members of people that live in my division, enviable beachfront properties, Bedina, Warana, have now experienced 2 consecutive valuation increases of around 80%. And as much as we try and change things and reconfigure things, they're not immune for substantial increases in their divisions, in that division. And I do feel for those people, and I've had people say to me, you know, what can council do to reduce the cost of living pressures? And I'm really grateful that we've been able to do that for our pensioners, because I think they're the ones that, I know my parents, you know, as pensioners, they were always mindful of every cost. You know, you turn up, the lights are off, you know, they're just mindful of every cost. So to be able to do our bit to try and support them, to take away the 3-year waiting list was another great initiative that especially Councillor Maria had put forward and suggested that that was what we should be doing, and well supported by the councillors. But it's important for people to know that, you know, we are not immune from these cost pressures. Our wages have significantly gone up. There's been wage pressures right across the country, and we've not been immune to that. The cost of electricity for residents have gone through the roof. as well as businesses, and we're another council that the cost of electricity for us, the increased cost of borrowing money has gone up significantly as well. The cost of fuel, everybody's felt that at the Bowser, so has the council. Our contracts, and Councillor Hungerford mentioned about most of our contracts for local businesses are rise and fall contracts, and of course the rising cost of fuel and other pressures, we've had to adjust those and contribute more towards them to make sure that they don't fall over as businesses and can continue to run their businesses. And of course the cost of construction. We're in the business of building infrastructure, and that has just gone through the roof. So as a council, we have felt that. But as a local government, we collect 3% of the total tax collected in this country. Federal government and state government collect the majority of money when it comes to taxes. And yet, they have the greatest capacity to deliver changes and changes in regards to both government policies, but as well as their ability to be able to give money that they collect back to the community to assist the community in terms of relieving pressure from cost of living pressures. They have the greatest capacity. We as a local government, in terms of our expectation to be able to deliver the services that we want in a growing community, and the challenges that we've got are enormous. And we do that with the limited amount of tax money that we do collect. So I hope our community understands that as much as I and the council would love to do more, we are absolutely limited and constrained in that environment in being able to deliver any sustainable cost of living reductions. So I want to thank the finance team. I've dealt with Michael for my days in Maroochy Shire, and I can say that we're well served by the expertise, knowledge that he and his team bring to council, and want to thank the ELT for all of the support that they've given the council and been able to get to this point. But I'm just pleased that we've been able to shape this budget in some way that is reflected. The second year of our budget will really reflect what the personality of this new council will be. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Natoli. Councillor Bunnag.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise to also support the motion and commend you on your first budget as well. After the election, I had a coffee with one of my good mentors, Councillor Jerry Gordon from the Maroochy Shire days, and Jerry after that sent me an email and said an English proverb, slowly, slowly, catchy monkey, which basically means don't rush, don't go too fast, be a little bit patient. It's fair to say that during this budget process as a new councillor, I probably haven't adopted that at all times, but I want to start by just thanking the staff, particularly the former CEO, Emma Thomas, for her diligence and the way that she was able to pivot through some of the more rapid requests that might have been made by myself and other councillors through this process. But this is a good budget. You know, we can't let perfect get in the way of good. And ultimately, this is a good budget that does a lot of good things for our community. And there's some particular changes that I am really, really proud of, and I'm proud that our council has made some difficult decisions with respect to. And the first is when it comes to the transport levy. And as the community portfolio holder, which includes transport in partnership with Councillor Law, this is a significant change to the transport levy policy in terms of directing over $3 million of money that was otherwise going to the Transport Levies Futures Fund into real transport enabling infrastructure for people who are most vulnerable in our community. These are projects that might have never gotten off the ground through our capital works projects if we hadn't have invested this money in it right now. So I'm very proud of that, because the feedback that I received across the board during the election and throughout many years of talking to people in the community is that people want their transport levy spent on transport. They want it spent on transport in real terms. The second measure that I'm really proud of, and I'd also like to give a shout out to Councillor Suarez, is in respect of the pensioner levy, the pension concession, which is a cost of living measure that we're taking head on, and it's about removing that 3-year wait period. And I think it's always best to actually describe it in real terms to how this will positively benefit people in our community. And I had an email from a man called Doug, who's on a DVA pension, who's been living on the Sunshine Coast continuously for 20 years as either a renter or a property owner, but because of the way that the revenue statement was previously structured in other budgets, was not able to access the Sunshine Coast Council's pensioner concession. So the change that we have made today by scrapping the 3-year residency period, which was only applicable to people who had owned a house, I think is a tremendous step forward. And it treats people who are living on the Sunshine Coast, whether you're a renter, whether you're a property owner, or whether you've been here for 3 days or 3 years, you're a Sunshine Coast local. And people like Doug and Barb in my division will be up to $300 better off a year, and I think that's a tremendous step forward. The next thing that I'm really proud of is in respect of our community partnerships funding. And I've been to my fair share of community group meetings where I've heard very clearly that what our community groups have said who have to manage council-owned facilities. I think about the Majimba Residents Association, I think about the Millwall Road Community Centre, the North Shore Community Centre, and the cost of everything has been going up for those community groups. They are not immune to the costs of actually managing those facilities on behalf of council. And the reality is that funding for those costs simply didn't go up with the cost of inflation, and we are doing something about that in this council, and I'm very proud of that, and I commend my other councillors for supporting this, because it means that our community partners who are managing council facilities and providing such a public benefit to our community will have the support that they need to get through these difficult, challenging economic times. And I think it's a terrific initiative. The last thing I want to say in terms of a region-wide initiative is in relation to arborist services. And when we talked about budgets, you always hear the phrase that money doesn't grow on trees. Well, we're pretty lucky, because if it had been, we wouldn't have known about it for a little bit in terms of having done assessments. And that's been some feedback that I've heard quite a lot in the community. And I want to give particular thanks to Nick and his team in Parks and Gardens who have managed us through this very difficult period. But I can say very clearly to the community and to Nick and his team that help is on the way in terms of additional funding to make sure that we get arborist assessment times down to that 4-week period. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I know that people in our community will be very happy to see this change and giving the support to our Parks and Gardens staff that they so rightly deserve to actually deliver this service for us. The final thing I want to say is in terms of Division 8, there are some exciting projects that I'm very proud of that we'll be delivering for the community. Obviously, this is ratepayer money. It's their money that we're putting back into their community. The one big thing that I want to talk about in terms of Division 8 is around pathways and pedestrian safety. It's something that is very important to me. It's something that's very important to the community. It's a promise that I made, and we're going to be investing in pathways right across the division, from Maroochydore to Majimba in terms of wombat crossings. But the big one for me is that we are actually putting some money towards a detailed design for the South Coolum Road footpath. I can't tell you how many times I've talked about this in council sessions. I think people are probably sick of it. I'm happy to take you for a walk along South Coolum Road at some time if you want to, but ultimately this is about making sure that kids, families can get to school safely. I think it's going to be a terrific project when it gets off the ground. I'm confident with some further advocacy we can get there in the next few years, but ultimately I commend this budget and thank the staff for all their hard work in terms of getting us to where we are today.
Thank you, Councillor Bunnag. Councillor Burns.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Mayor. This morning my wife subjected me to a playlist of frog songs. Because today at her work she's going to be doing a frog celebration for all the early years students, and they are really pumped. And I don't know if you know this, but there is actually a frog song that Who Let the Frogs Out. That's the calibre and quality of things I was forced to listen to this morning. And my wife was really excited, and as she left she said, "Hey, wish me luck, it's a really big day for me." And she walked off and I went, wow, that's a day. And I was thinking ahead to delivering and, this whole budget process today, and I was thinking that's important. But as I kind of took a moment to pause and sort of think about it, I actually went, well, today's budget delivery is an important milestone for me and for this council and for our region, but I don't think it's any less important than the Frog Celebration Day is for the Prep and Year 1 students at my wife's school. You see, the budget and the frog celebration is about the here and the now, but it's also about what we've done and celebrating that and reflecting on that, but it's also got an eye to the future. It's actually the future for our kids who love frog celebrations just as much as it might be for our ratepayers in this area. We have a lot to celebrate. This is our Who Let the Frogs Out moment in some ways as a council. And I would like to really acknowledge that we've said so many good things. I've heard my fellow councillors really share the benefits and the strengths of this budget, and I do acknowledge all that, and I actually support all of that. I do acknowledge that, Councillor Bunnag, it was your suggestion and your reflection on the transport levy that got us to the point where we've been able to see the money come out of there with a bit more focus around our safety and our vulnerable residents. So thank you. I do acknowledge that, Councillor Johnston, you were a fierce advocate for our hinterland communities, and sometimes people might have thought, oh look, he's going again. I did, but I've only had to sit with you for 3 months. Imagine if it had been years. But well done to you for strongly advocating. I think the things for me that I'm excited about is that we have actually been able to be responsible. We've had to make some tough savings. And that's not done easily. It's not done just with this flippant sense of that doesn't matter, because actually it all matters. We'd like to have funded everything and plus a little bit more, but that's just not actually possible. So just to acknowledge the work of our executive team and working with us in that, the councillors for the robust discussions around that, and the finance team for actually making that happen, because I know that is a real challenge. I am excited to see that we'll get those extra funds for our transport initiatives. I am excited to see that actually into the future, Division 3 will get improvements in their pathways and active transport areas around Warana and Little Mountain. I'm really excited about that. I am excited that Division 3 is going to be the healthiest, sportiest division in the whole region, because we've got a lot of money going into the Kawana Aquatic Centre, like 7.4 mil this year, to see that Phase 2 get up to scratch, and that pool is going to be top notch. It's going to be schmick, and I'm excited for that. I'm really pumped that we get to support the rollout of our Olympic infrastructure at the Kawana Stadium upgrade, and to actually see that beginning at the end of this year and into early next year. That is a good thing. We should be celebrating that, like the frog celebration at my wife's school this morning. I'm also really encouraged and excited to see the little things beginning to happen. Curramundi United Football Club have got 450 members. They've got a little brick shelter that they use as their clubhouse, but they don't actually have a drink tap at the fields. That's bonkers, isn't it? But, wow, what a big one. But we get a drink fountain there this year. That's good. That's really good, because it might be a little thing and people go, yeah, so what? For those kids running around, they'll be stoked. For the people who visit those fields to play against them, that will make a difference. There's a whole range of those different things, putting seats in parks so parents can actually watch their kids play instead of standing there or waiting and then nicking off early. It lets their kids play longer and the parents to be happy. There's a whole bunch of those things. Just sealing some bits of car parks so the dust isn't blowing through the doors of the people across the road. That's a win. So the budget is diverse and it is varied. Developing the budget has been a lesson learning thing for me. I wasn't sure how it worked. It's a big thing. It's a big beast. We use big numbers. I don't always get those numbers, but I'm really, really grateful to see how it works. And it's probably not too dissimilar to what you do at home. You go, I've got this much money coming in. I've got this much money going out. How do I make sure that I don't spend more than what I get? How can I make sure that I've got a little bit of money set aside to pay for the rego or pay for that little job that's got to happen or fix up the fence, so you're saving some away over there? How do you actually then make sure we're also got an eye to the bigger future plans? That's kind of what we do. It's just using bigger numbers and a more complex and diverse thing. And so hopefully we've managed the household budget well as a council. I believe we have, and I'm excited for it. Just as much as the kids at my wife's school today are going bonkers singing Who Let the Frogs Out and celebrating what they've worked towards. May we celebrate in the same way as we move forward as a region, which is really positive, and I think there's a lot to celebrate. So thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Burns. Could you develop a budget playlist, perhaps, so we could do that moving forward?
What you wish for.
I'm excited. I'm excited. Thank you, Councillor Burns. Councillor Broderick.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I had a whole speech planned and now all I've got in my head is who let the frogs out. So thank you, Councillor Burns. And just in relation to what's been said so far, obviously we agree with all of that. And Madam Mayor mentioned before that we wanted to bring a budget that benefits all of our residents, no matter where we live on the Sunshine Coast. And I hope that we've been able to do that as part of today. And like Councillor Burns said, we haven't been able to fund everything that we've wanted to in this budget, but just as the proverb that Councillor Bunnag brought to us, some good things take time, so we don't have to rush at it straight away. So can I just also offer my huge amount of gratitude and thanks to this incredible team who've helped bring this together. We came in as newbies, some of us, and we had 10 weeks to throw things together, and we beaming with new ideas, and you took those and you made it what it is today. So we're incredibly grateful for that. So thank you for all of the support, and thank you to all of our councillors as well, and support staff and team who've made that happen. So thank you very much. We wanted a budget that delivered for our community, and one that considered our needs of our entire community and their aspirations, and I think we've been able to do that. It's been a really delicate balance for us of a council to ensure honest, transparent and faithful governance for our ratepayers, and Councillor Hungerford before referred to us having a responsible budget for the Sunshine Coast, and I think that's what we've been able to deliver here today. And it's about us being prudent with it as well. And we've been able to bring it together in a short time, but it serves not only our divisions, I would hope, but we've taken the big picture look, and so we're looking for the greater good of our entire Sunshine Coast with this budget as well. So I just want to, in relation to a lot of what other people have already said, so I won't take up too much of your time, is that we do acknowledge that these times have been tough, or are tough, for lots of people across the region. And that has been at the front of our minds. This has been our budget for our community and our community at heart. And we wanted to deliver those funds in a way that was efficient and in a way that our community expected. I too am particularly excited about the road sealing program. So Councillor Johnson, you will always have my full support when it comes to resealing roads in the hinterland, just so you know. We're also excited to see our transport levy as well put to good use with the allocation of those resources for the safety initiatives and for our most vulnerable that we talked about as well. Our big picture for Division 1 over the next few years includes our pathway connectivity so that all of our region can be active. We've talked about our active transport, and that not only along our coastal pathways, but seeing that transfer across to the hinterland is also going to be something great to see as well. So as far as Division 1 goes, we've got significant investment right across our parks and our playgrounds and basketball upgrades, all the things like that Councillor Bird says are really important. These things are important to have our basketball hoops upgraded for our youth to go and have something to do. We're also excited about our sports upgrades in Aura. We're fortunate to get a couple of new clubhouses out there, which we're really excited about. And we are so lucky in Division 1. We get 2 resource recovery centres. So we've got lots of investment coming out our way, including $450,000 investment in the Sustainability Park development at Warringah, which is going to see exciting plans come out of the ground for that as well, with a focus on activities in sustainability too. Not to forget as well, we've also got the aerodrome in Caloundra that will be looking at master planning this year too. I'm also very excited because it's something that has been on my mind as we came out of campaign mode and election mode, is that we have got money in the budget now to redo the Beer War Cemetery entrance and car park, which we're really excited about because we've had lots of feedback about that being overgrown and not visible at all. So for grieving families in particular and visitors to the cemetery. I'm really very excited and grateful to have that as part of our budget this year, so watch this space. There are lots of others, obviously, and so I wanted to just thank the council for a great job that they've done and for supporting us all the way. I look forward to all of these projects coming out. Future looks bright. Focus on pathways, better connections and more regular maintenance programs in this budget and our future budgets. And thank you again for the opportunity to serve. It's been our first budget. I'm excited for it. We did in a short time, but we couldn't have done it without the help of all these people in this room, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Broderick. Councillor Law.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor. I'll be very brief because there's so little left to say. And following on from Councillor Burns, what can you do, really? So thank you for that. But we've heard a lot of the conversations of the work done, and I think the thing to do is to highlight that this is very much a collaborative process. It's a very robust process, and everyone challenges one another because everyone has a view to the whole region, but also knows what's happening in their own backyard. And the comment of supporting the community and creating a strong community, I think overall that we're doing that. The gravel roads, it is very good to see greater support coming there because we still have over 500 kilometres of gravel roads in this region. And some of them will always be gravel because they particularly don't go anywhere. But it's always worth travelling along them to find out the surprises at the end of those roads. And for Division 10, that of those 500 plus kilometres of roads, we have 186. I'm very pleased to see that we will be contributing and sealing a road that some residents have been asking to have it sealed since the middle of the 1980s. And I am really looking forward to going and celebrating the finishing of that road, probably early next year, with a now elderly gentleman who's been waiting for his road to be sealed for 40 years. And I'm not much of a person for cutting ribbons, but I think it would be quite fun to go out with this gentleman and cut a ribbon on that road when it's done. But I'll make sure that he drives the scissors or drives the car through it first. So yes, it's good to see the support coming for those things, but I just want to highlight that it is a collaborative approach to do the very best that we can for everybody on the Sunshine Coast, because the costs of living are rising no matter who you are and what you're doing, whether it's your business or your home or just your very existence. The cost of living is making it harder every day, and I believe we've done the best that we can to accommodate that. Yes, the state land valuations have caused us problems, and none more so than the rural areas, where the average increase is over 100%. And there are some rural properties who are producing the food for our tables that have had a 300% increase in the rateable value of their agricultural land. And I know that through the process that we use, even though those valuations have occurred, that creates other issues with state government and so on, we have done our part to make the changes minimal for those rural producers. So that's very, very important. So it's a big effort. I will be supporting it. And yes, you get the mountain bike stadium, but let's make sure that we can actually get there in a suitable method of transport so that when it's ready in 2027, 5 years before the Games, we can actually get there in a suitable transport means. That means walking, running, cycling, to go to the mountain bike centre. And that will be achieved if we can make progress on the Nambour to Coolum Trail, which will connect to the Coastal Trail, a project of some 15 to 20 years, but a very important project. And if the Nambour to Coolum Trail happens, with the support of this group, which it will need, then We will also not only connect to the sporting venue in Parklands, we'll also connect to the other 65 kilometres of the coastal trails developed by this council over the last 15 years. And that will be extremely helpful and beneficial for our whole community and for the hinterland community to be able to connect to the coastal community and for the coastal community to better connect with the hinterland and actually come to understand the beauty and joy of living in the best part of the Sunshine Coast. So it's a bit like making a movie. We've got all the best bits and they've all been joined up and stitched together, and we've got a good movie for the year coming. But there is a lot left on the cutting room floor, and we'll see what we can pick up and get done in the future years. So I give it support, and thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Law. And last but not least, Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too wish to advise my fellow councillors that I'm more than happy to say that I'll be supporting this budget. When we started talking about the budget, and not long after we were elected and sworn in, I was really impressed at how many of the councillors, the re-elected councillors, but also the newly elected councillors, were quite adamant that this process would have to be about fixing the little things, getting back to basics, which is what we have done. And I thank everybody for driving that. I think we may have given some of our executive leadership team and our accountant some sleepless nights because we were demanding things which haven't traditionally been asked for. However, it's done and we got there. I'd like to particularly, apart from all the people who have been re-elected, I'd particularly like to mention that the new councillors have brought refreshing approach to issues, been very supportive. Taylor, Councillor Bunnag, he has an amazing grasp of so many issues that took me a lot longer to get a grasp of. So I congratulate you on that. And Councillor Jenny Broderick, she's been right in there, solid, helpful all the time. And Councillor Burns, unfortunately, I was a bit worried when he was speaking before that he might croak. But anyway, apart from that, the Mayor has also impressed us all, I think, with the fact that she's asked a lot of questions. She's got to the bottom of issues. She's supported the council in basically the decisions that we made. And so I thank her for that. And last budget, in the last term, there was a press release went out that said we had a $1 billion budget. And the number of times that I've had that thrown at me is amazing. But in actual fact, what it was is we had 500 million in revenue and we had 500 million in expenses. And when you added them together, it was a $1 billion budget. So that it gave the wrong impression to the community. This year, this budget, we have revenue of 610 million and expenses of 588 million. So what we need to make sure is that people don't think that that 600 million, that revenue, is all rates. In actual fact, general rates only make up for about 320 million, is that right? Yeah, 322 million. And the rest is made up of things like fees and charges that are charged for development applications and all other sorts of things. Interest on our investments, because we receive the money in 2 lumps throughout the year, and sometimes we can invest, well, we do invest a substantial amount of that for up to 6 months at a time. And, you know, because of the good management of our finance department, we have a revenue of some $15 million a year in interest on investments. In addition to that, because many years ago, when the state took over water and sewerage for this region, Sunshine Coast Council, or it was in those days, I think, Caloundra and Maroochy, they decided, instead of being bought out, that they would retain an interest and be compensated each year as a return. And there's some $52 million that comes in from that each year. We have other revenues, grants and subsidies, some $16 million a year. So you can see, in effect, the ratepayers are getting $600 million worth of works being done and improvements in the local authority, but they're only contributing, in effect, you know, half of that in general rates. I'd like to set the record straight in relation to my involvement with getting extra money. I argued strongly for it, that we increase the expenditure from 5.5 million to 8 million. I regret now that I didn't go for 10, but anyway, that might have been a bridge too far. But the great thing about it was that I think we've finished up with a good balance, and I thank particularly the coastal councillors for supporting this much needed works in the hinterland, because nearly all of it is either north of the Maroochy River or west of the Bruce Highway. When I came on the council 4 and a bit years ago, I was gobsmacked at how much gravel roads we have in this region. And we're chipping away at it. It'll take us a long time, but we'll get there. Now, in relation to my own division, for the last 4 years, most of those budget expenditures have been in Woombye, Palmwoods, Udlow, Malula, Glenview, etc. And we were allocating money on the basis of where the needs were. To a large extent, a lot of the things like improving of facilities, sporting fields, roads, gravel roads, all those sorts of things were done in those areas. And during the last election, some people took one year's budget from last year and said, well, you know, you spend all this money in Maleny, but you're not spending it in the other areas, which, you know, was a distortion. And this year...
Councillor Johnston, would you like an extension of time?
Do I need one? Thank you. Yes.
Carried. Thank you. Moved was Councillor Bunnag. Seconded was Landsberg.
Right.
And we vote.
Jack in the box. I'll finish off by saying that in Palmwoods we're rebuilding the Lemon Park amenities complex. Maleny Showground, we're converting the lighting system from the old style lights which were installed 30 years ago to LED lighting. There's a lot of work being done in the Mary Cancross Scenic Reserve and also in the Maroochy Bushland Botanic Gardens, and I'm very fortunate to have both of those facilities in my division. There's a skate park, phase 2 is being developed at Maleny, which the old one was put there about 93 or something or other, and it's just beyond its life. The community up there will be really happy about that. Briggs Park in Palmwoods, we're rebuilding the rugby league and cricket change rooms. In Maleny, we're starting on the Maleny streetscape, so that's 2.9 million. And there's an allocation of 960,000 for a lookout at Maleny on the Mountain View Road, which I'm very fortunate that the Works Department brought that forward, and it's almost finished now, but the funding is in this year. So there's a lot of other major projects in Division 5. In particular, I can't let it go without mentioning that I was very fortunate to succeed in bringing forward the final sealing of Lodwoods Road at Udlow by 2 years, and it's going to be commencing the end of October. So to all of the councillors and particularly to the staff and the executive who have had to sit through my lectures, thank you very much, and I really appreciate the cooperation and the manner in which everybody has supported not just things in Division 5, but supported the allocation of funds fairly across the local authority. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston. Councillors, this budget shows we've been listening and responding to our community. It contains benefits for all residents, no matter where they live, and will deliver a high standard of services that our residents and visitors deserve. Community is at its core, and the investments in this budget will prepare our region for a prosperous future, as well as deliver the small things that make a big difference to our everyday lives. Councillors, I'll now put the motion to the vote. Those in favour? The motion has been carried unanimously. Councillors, today's agenda has concluded, and I will declare the meeting closed at 10:47.